Pregame.com.
Welcome, Pregame.tv special edition. Steve Fezzik here with Bryan Leonard. We're going to be breaking down some tricks of the trade. Second half betting NBA college basketball should be a fun little segment. Bryan, I know you're doing more and more, harder and harder to beat the game lines. Let's bet the second halves, right?
Yeah, we're doing a lot of derivatives. In fact, I just started a new spot on the forum, Leonard's Derivatives, and talk about
Leonard's Derivatives.
Leonard's Derivatives. I couldn't find anything that could rhyme.
What name did you reject to choose Leonard?
Bryan's Derivatives. We'll come up with something. We'll make it a little bit.
You know, R.J. Bell is a marketing genius, and he just listens to us and he says, these guys suck.
He's the one that came up with Bryan's Diamonds, by the way.
I like Bryan's Diamonds.
All right. I
You
wish
came
Bryan
up with
had some
Bryan's
diamonds.
Derivatives. Okay.
Mrs. Bryan wishes she had some Bryan's Diamonds. But we'll talk about some other offshoots of ways to bet derivatives. And one of the things I look for in betting these, especially in college basketball, you got a total which has been bet up significantly from the opener. And the
pre-flop, before the game starts.
And
I call it pre-flop.
Okay, there you go. I'm not a poker player. But the first half is low scoring. And I like to play the second half over. For example, we had this, and we talked about this last week. There was a game, first half was 36-11 at the half. The game had been bet up 7 points from the opener to the TCU game.
It was getting clobbered.
So I sent out to my clients that we had the over in that game. And my thought process is, you're the team that's got 11 points. All you care about is not to make SportsCenter the next day by saying this team scored whatever, because there was a team a couple weeks ago that scored. Yep.
Northern Illinois had 4 points. They're down 18-4, and they didn't pick it up. And I actually played that second half over because the coach was too stupid to realize he was going to appear on SportsCenter, and I lost my bet. But he's going to lose his job.
Yeah, and that's something you want to take into account. The other team is very happy. They got a big lead. Fun. What do you call it? Fun, happy time or whatever?
Happy action fun.
Happy action fun time. There you go.
On ESPN.
But the other team, all they care about doing, they don't care how many points they give up. They just want to score so they don't get embarrassed.
Yeah, I absolutely love that trend. And you do have to look at the individual coaches, because there's some coaches like Joe Scott, like Princeton offense, that just doesn't care, that they're going to keep, plodding away. That's their system, and they know they can't get out of their system. It's not going to work. But the vast majority, what would you do if you're down 24-9? Work on the defense? Come on now.
Yep. Another thing I look at, in a lot of these, I know you do some things where you don't have to be watching the game to play.
But it helps to watch the game.
It definitely helps. But the wins I'm going to talk about are when you're watching the game.
I did want to make one more point before, if I can go back on that low scoring. It does you no good, though, to play second half over when it's 17-16 at halftime, when Georgetown's playing some team that's mucking it up with them, because both teams go into halftime feeling, well, we really aren't getting embarrassed. We're not doing anything wrong.
That's right. That's right. Another game I look at is if the pace of the game is fast and yet the first half scoring stays under. For example, you watch a game, both teams going up and down the court, getting good shots. They're just not making them. And if you're not watching the game, you don't realize that the pace is going that way. You know they're going to start hitting some of these, So what I like to do is, the lines maker, he's got his chart, and what he's going to do is come up with whatever the chart says.
And by the way, I've had access to the chart. What the chart basically says, let's say you've got a total at 130. So we're going to set the first half 61, the second half 69. And so they look at the 61, and then let's say they're down 10 points below the 61 at 51. What they'll do is they'll take the second half 69, they'll knock it down by 1.5 to 67.5. Because they're saying, oh, we're under pace, and I'll take like 15% of what we're under, and I'll pop that back down, which is a valid adjustment, all things being equal, because they don't have time to check pace ratings and what's going on, and they're just saying they're not scoring. But if they're not scoring just because they're not hitting any shots, not because it's a slow muck-it-up game, you're basically right off the bat getting 1.5 points of value, and you might be getting more because, again, these coaches are going to be working on offense during the halftime.
And a lot of things you have to work at is and you pointed it out earlier, the score of that game. Is it a close game or is it a blowout? Something else I look at, if the favorite team is losing at the half and they play again tomorrow, a lot of people like to say, well, the favorite team's losing, but they're going to win that game. Well, keep in mind, if this team is playing tomorrow, they might not have the energy to come back and use all that energy to come back, and they got to play again tomorrow. So I think there's some value.
So obviously this is an NBA concept here.
Yes.
And probably an older NBA team, a savvy NBA team. You'll take a look at like the Celtics, for instance. They go to a Denver or a Utah, and they're down 18 at halftime. and even live wagering in the third quarter. I like this one myself. It's the mail it in components, because when Boston's down 20 at Denver, going into the fourth quarter, the odds makers are always going to set Denver as a 3-point underdog because of regression to the mean. However, if Boston's got a game the next night, Denver probably should be a 1-point favorite because they're going to keep bringing it. They got, the mammal, and they're going to keep running. That's what Denver does. And Boston, oftentimes savvy coach, just take the players off the court. Let's rest and fight another day, the next day.
Yeah, especially if you're playing on the road and you're playing the next game, you want to get some rest for your players and the home team. Especially if it's a high-scoring game. They're just having fun. You mentioned Denver. Denver's one of those teams, they'll pile it on when they're playing.
And by the way, I actually think that Denver, their end game strategy is brilliant compared to all these other dumb coaches in the NBA and college basketball. It's like the prevent defense. It's the prevent offense in basketball. You're up 10. There's 5 minutes to play. You've been kicking at teams all game long. All you got to do is keep doing what you're doing. And how often do you hear the announcers say, well, the clock is the enemy now, and then they dribble the ball, even Coach K does it. They dribble the ball for 25 seconds, they chuck up some god-awful three, and the next thing you know, you blink, and that's what happened to UNLV against New Mexico, and they almost blew the game because of it. And yet the coach gets reprimanded by the announcers if his guys go down and take an uncontested three. It's like, oh, that's not the shot you want right now. It's like, excuse me, that's the shot that you've been killing this other team.
That's right. Whatever you've been doing has been working all game. Why would you want to change it at the end of the game? And then finally, if the underdog is winning at the half and is on a substantial losing streak, I like to play on that team because they're going all in. They haven't won in a long time, and they're going all in for that second half. That's all they care about. They want to end the losing streak, while the other, people look at that and they say, well, the better team is going to come out in the second half. Well, you've got to pay a price for that.
And one thing, expanding, I like that as well. And what I really like is if I got a team, say they're a 6-point underdog, okay, for the game, and at halftime they're ahead by 5, and then the second half spread, make them up by 6, and then the second half spread might be 5, all right? And what I really like about the dog here is that they can screw up and not cover the second half, and it can go to overtime, and then they can steal it in overtime. So I always like it when the team that was the underdog pre-flop is now a slight favorite to win the game, because I feel I've got several ways to win versus I hate it when, say, a team is like a 10-point dog and they're up 3 at halftime, and then they're getting 4. I'm getting 7, so essentially getting 4 for the game, and I got to worry about the foul fest at the end of the game that can really screw me over. If you're betting totals, not so much the NBA, but in college basketball, one thing I love to pay attention to is the projected final score. Are we going to be in a foul fest? Are we not going to be in a foul fest? Do you do much with totals with your second half betting?
I do, depending on how the first half goes.
Right, because I know if I got like an 8-point favorite, and the game's tied at halftime, and so they're laying 5 second half. Now it really looks like it's a good chance that there'll be a foul fest at the end of the game. Whereas if I get an 8-point favorite and they're up 17 at halftime, real good chance you might get a very quiet final 5 minutes, and I would be lean to playing the under. The flip side of, say I had a 5-point favorite and they're down 17 at halftime, I expect all hell will break loose in the second half. Can I say hell? Just did. I expect that just the coach will be throwing chairs, screaming at his players, and he's not going to accept the defeat because he was supposed to win. And you're going to see one of those games where even if he's down 12, he's going to keep fouling to the bitter end. Yeah,
they're totally different in the NBA and college. In college, the kids never give up. In the NBA, it's a totally different story when you're playing 82 games. And I think these last two systems that I work on probably work better in the NBA because the one team, if San Antonio is playing or a very good team is playing, they can lose. It's no big deal. But in college basketball, every game means so much, especially when it's in conference play, that you're going to get a little bit different the way they play at the end of the game there. No doubt at all. One other thing I really like about the second half betting is so often the lines are all the same everywhere, and it's a very violent stock market type of situation where it's not unusual in a total that you could have anywhere from 64 to 65, and those extra half points mean so much more on a halftime than they do for an overall game. I would say it's as far as if the line's 3 everywhere and you can lay 2.5 or take 3.5, you're probably going to break even. I would say each half point's worth 10 cents on getting, so you can even get a 1-point middle on the sides. I think that's enough to break even on the half times. Yeah, and if you live in Las Vegas and you're playing at one of the local casinos, they're going to have the line higher than anywhere else because everybody likes to bet the over. They like to bet the favorite. So you can sit there and you can literally get a half a point on just about any second half total. total and side.
And in one of my Fezzik Focus morning podcasts, I talk about how I wind up playing a lot more unders and a lot more dogs, not so much because I prefer the underdog or the under, but because there's a lot of games I lean to the underdog or the under, and then in Vegas, it's painted 77 everywhere, and I'll get a 78, and that'll put me over the edge to where I think it has an edge. So I love having the app, the Cantor app, and the William Hill apps here locally to go ahead and wager, with those games.
Yes, and Stations also has an app, but some of us can't use it.
No, I can bet at Stations.
With the app?
No.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that can use the app.
Very, very good. But it's great to have lots of options at your disposal. And just one more thing to consider, and one thing to be careful, if you haven't bet a lot of second halves, you probably want to don't go into the deep end of the pool because it's a totally different situation. And there'll be a lot of games where you will say, I think one of the classic mistakes is a team's like laying 15 in a game, and then they're down 3 at halftime, and people are like, oh, I'm going to lay 10. Now I'm only laying, I'm only laying 7 for the overall. And I see that being not necessarily a mistake, but you just can't play that blindly where you're thinking, oh, I'm getting such the line value versus the opener.
Yeah, the team that's the big underdog in that game comes into the game not expecting to be in it. Now all of a sudden it's halftime, they go, hey, we got a chance to shock somebody right here, so you're going to get their best effort all game long.
Well, great introductory video, something for people to go ahead and think about, and I'm sure we'll be doing a follow-up video to this sometime in the future. We talk about some more specific games, and appreciate everyone tuning in here at pregame.tv, and I'm sure Bryan and I will focus on other derivative betting. That's something that's becoming a bigger and bigger part of each one of our portfolios. Stay tuned for those.